Hi.
Hello, ERV. Irv.
Derv.
What was that? Was it whose slide was that? Was that Kenda's slide this morning, or
Oh, that's Lisa's slide.
that was Stopar and Irv?
Yeah, she constantly puts me as Irv.
I had to think about that one. I was like, ERV. I started thinking like lunar rover vehicle. What?
Emergency room vehicular.
Oh, anyway, I was like, oh, Ed. Yes, of course. So I saw this morning on the LPSC agenda or schedule that the the Venus session on Tuesday afternoon, they're calling it Venus so hot right now.
Yep.
Oh, I cracked up when I saw that.
I'm pretty surprised the name went through. That was obviously Paul, not Shank, the other Paul, Byrne.
Oh, did he name it?
Yeah.
I wondered.
So I thought when you emailed me the meme that it was in response to Paul Byrne already having named this
No,
section.
no, because
That
I
was
did
just a
that
pure
the first.
coincidence.
Well, I don't know because I made that the first day of the committee.
Oh,
So
geez.
unless he already had that in his head, it was totally parallel.
It's a small world after all.
It is. Hey, Joelle and Jeanette, how are you?
Doing great. Coming to you from Portland.
Barely, but yes. Yeah, you're not really coming across, Joelle. Hey, Salem.
Hey there.
And there's Amy. Hey, Amy.
Hey,
How's it going?
good. I haven't been able to call in quite some time, so
Oh, that's okay.
I'm supposed to get caught up. Sorry about that.
No worries. I mean, it's not like you college profs have anything else to do.
I'm not a professor.
Well, you are to me.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Are you even in that line?
No, I'm a soft money research scientist.
Oh, okay.
So I work with students, but I don't teach.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe that's better that way.
Yeah, it is for me anyway.
Hey, Susan. Hey, Alexandra.
Hello.
So, we'll go ahead and get started. So, Lori has the COVID. And I spoke to her yesterday or Tuesday, and she had just found out, and she was feeling okay, but I guess it's starting to really affect or whatever. So she said she wasn't going to be able to join us today, but that's okay. Feel more worse for her from a standpoint of she and her husband were supposed to go on vacation next week on Monday. So I'm guessing maybe that's not going to happen now, but oh well. So we're certainly hoping she does well. She's fully vaxxed and boosted, whatever. So that'll certainly help. And I don't know if Margaret's going to be joining us today or not, but some of you may have heard. I don't know. I guess she's awarded some presidential like STEM award, like some lifetime thing. Sorry, I don't remember what it was called, but I've been seeing emails about it. So that's pretty cool. So congrats to her on that. So there's just a couple of items that we had for sure to talk about, and if anybody else wants to bring anything else up, they're more than welcome to. Could somebody, let me put them in the, there it is. So there's the link to the notes in chat. Joelle says they're in the hotel with bad internet. So she's just listening today. Yeah, she and Christine are at the American Campus Association, is that right? The national meeting in Portland, yeah. Okay, here it is. So here's some text from Margaret's thing. Margaret, recognized by the White House for dedication, passion, and effectiveness in the cause of space-related outreach and education. And she and Texas Space Grant dedicated a lifetime of work to reach out to an astonishingly broad swath of communities, including students and teachers, both within and outside Texas. So I'm sure that'll be a nice size certificate with a really cool stamped thingy on it. So anyway, so good news for Margaret, not so great news for Lori today, but we'll all take it. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to bring up, Lori was going to lead more of this, but that's okay. We don't need to go too much into this. Could somebody take notes for me, by the way? Just right there in that note, in that doc I just shared. So last week on Wednesday, we had our, what we were calling, I like that somebody called it this, preliminary design review for our workshops. So we had, I was there with Christine, Lori, and Joelle, and Jeanette was there, and Kenda from our team was there, as well as Sherelle. And then we had a couple of, well, more than a couple. We had 2 informal educators who work with Latinx students extensively. One was from a local library, one from a local community college, and a scientist from JSC, Mark Matney, and Paige Graff from the Aries group was there as well. And we spent the afternoon not doing a workshop per se, but we just kind of presented what we might do in a workshop. And we wanted to get their feedback on how well we are integrating IDEA themes into that overarching, not goals, but big picture things you should do to help engage diverse audiences. Including, we modeled an activity and then discussed how, in modeling that activity with them, how well did we do in modeling IDEA. Gosh, I cannot think. How well did we do? Anyway, approaches. Thanks, Susan. Anyway, so by the end of the day, or the end of the afternoon, everybody felt really good about how we're heading with these. A lot of unknowns, a lot of questions and a lot of gaps that we're trying to fill in creating an agenda for our first pilot workshop in April. But we felt we got a lot done last week in terms of just getting information that we needed to see if we were on the right track. And it seems as though we are. Jeanette and Susan are putting together a report on observations that Jeanette made, and we had a focus group with her afterwards. Oh yes, and Projecta was, that's right, yes, Projecta from LPI, one of our postdocs, was there as well. And Susan.
Whenever I have a few key takeaways to share with everybody when you're.
Oh yes, please, yes, great. So it went really well. I feel I think we all felt it went well, and they'll also agree that we still have some more gaps to fill, but we're at least headed in the right direction. So felt really good. Now, what we want to do, what Christine would like to do between now and the next workshop, or the pilot workshop at ASU in April, is to do what we did last week, but with everybody else on ReaCH. So everybody else, it'll be virtual. Of course, we're trying to find a time that works for everybody. So you all can see what we did and where we're going, and just give you that context, a better idea of where we are with designing these workshops. There was a call yesterday to finalize like the location for the workshop at ASU, so all that is pretty much worked out. I think we're also good to go with the public event to follow the workshop there at ASU. So we're humming along. I think we all feel much better than we did last week. Jeanette, you want to say something?
If I can get my mouse to unmute, it's around there. Yeah, so we just wanted to share a couple of things back, and as Andy said, we're putting together a more detailed memo. So let me share my screen here for a minute, just to add a visual so that you don't just have to listen to me. But so what we did is we started with me being there in the corner, fly on the wall with an observation, and really looking for what I could see and hear around DEIA, right? What kinds of actions, body language, movement did we see that shows us where you're headed with your DEIA efforts? And that's coming as soon as we plow through all my notes and try and align it with this. We're working off the NASA definition that you've adopted, and so that's where these kind of subheadings for DEIA are coming from. And then I did grab the 6 Planetary team members for about 25 minutes immediately following, just to sort of do a brain dump reflection. And again, you know, some of the key takeaways were less is more, right? It was 3.5 hours and we were dashing, everybody wished, including the folks, the scientists and informal educators, they were reluctant to leave at 4:30. They, you know, wanted more. So that was one of the things that came up, and that, you know, there needed to be more space for conversations. And one of the quick takeaways was that folks said, you know, if this is all I got, and this was a mini workshop, but it did take the 3.5 hours, I would not be ready to do any kind of public engagement event. And so kind of circling back to, if that's one of the goals, that they know how to do it after the workshop, we have to make sure that they feel ready to do that public engagement event. There was some talk around what are the specific strategies we want to share or learn from the informal educators, or from informal educators to planetary scientists around engagement, what works, what doesn't work. And just the overall feedback from the team was that, you know, the intentional grouping that Christine did and the icebreaker were really successful in kind of getting people talking to each other and feeling comfortable. So that's those 2 things. Then we did try and get 2 surveys out. One was to the team, and hooray, all 6 Planetary ReaCH team members completed this reflection. So that's always exciting. And it was like, on a 1 to 5 scale, where do you think we are? And so it's, as Andy shared, there's both feelings of success and room for growth, right? So most people put it around a 3 on average, because you got a 2 and a couple of 4s there. But that was sort of their takeaway quickly. And they learned a lot, but there's a lot to learn for the folks who were there. They could use more time to do these. And what we're starting today, they wanted input from the full team, right? Not just the 6 folks who got there, and just really understanding how to use DEIA strategies and how to share them, and resources was something that was still on everybody's mind after the workshop. And then less successful was a quick survey that we sent out to those participants. So that's the 4 planetary scientists and the 3 informal educators who were there. And we only got 3 of those back. So I'm hoping Christine will be able to reach out and ping because we know who did and who didn't complete them. Again, it's only 7, so it's like Christine's Strange Planet activity where you're looking through the paper towel tube really far away, right? We're just beginning to get some information and we don't want to overinterpret it. But it was nice to hear that both the planetary scientists and the informal educator felt that they were connecting, right? So there's a lot of strongly agree around connecting. They felt heard, that their feedback would be used. The only I don't know was this would increase public engagement, right? Because again, this was sort of a working co-design mini workshop, working session. What did you call it? Preliminary design reviews. So it didn't make them feel like they could go out and do a lot of public engagement. And that perhaps was not the goal for this one. And then just real quick, top level possible next steps. Because if we had been, we used all the time that we had with these folks for co-design and working together. So there was no time to say, hey, can you take 5 more minutes and just do this survey while you're standing here? And so we want to make sure that, well, Susan and I are making the plea for, as you go forward, building in some of that evaluation time so that we can capture, as I did with the Planetary ReaCH team members, immediate impressions, so we get that feedback. Consider timing. We did have 3.5 hours with folks and it flew by. So even though Sandlin and the informal educators assessment, they're like, yeah, half day is good. Maybe half day isn't enough for folks to feel like they can do all this. And it didn't feel like enough for us to get lots of information on how to co-design these. And like I said, starting today, just involve the whole team so that we can get everybody's perspective here. So that's just the quick and dirty look at what we learned. And again, for the planning team, we'll try and get a more comprehensive memo out to you soon.
Great. Thank you, Jeanette and Susan. Whoops. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. Weird. Could you let me know who you're still waiting for feedback from the scientists that were there? And I'll reach out to them. I'll just see if we can get them to respond.
Sure. Mark and Paige.
Those are the 2 we did hear from?
Did not.
Did not. So how many people completed
So
it?
there were 7.
Oh, 7 did. Okay, I gotcha. I had that turned around.
And ReaCH, and 3 completed them. So Christine needs to reach out to the informal educators and try and light a fire under those 2. And if you can give Mark and Paige a little nudge, hopefully we can get their impressions.
Okay.
Yeah, so we heard back from Jen and Projecta.
Okay. And who are the educators?
So it was Belinda, Lily, the 2 librarians, and Roberto from the community college.
Okay. So those are people we still need to hear from.
We heard from one of them, but the other 2 we did not. And I sent 2 reminders and then it gets annoying. So I don't know. Then a personal appeal works best.
So who was the 2 that didn't? It was Belinda and Lily?
Belinda and Roberto have not responded yet.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, great. Hey, Kinda. We were Jeanette was just going over some of the evaluation data from our review last week.
Yeah.
So as one of the SMEs and a ReaCH team member who was there, do you want to tell us a little bit, give us your thoughts on last week?
I was just putting in my reflections for Lori's. I was trying to get my reflections in there, and it's been a while. I wish I had this a little bit more detailed, but I thought it went really well because I thought that we had we had a nice group of both scientists and kind of more the informal educators, even though not informal. We had scientists, we had formal and informal educators that were there that gave us really good feedback with their experiences and how they could see the workshop going or not going, and how they kind of saw what we needed to do to really accomplish the goals that we wanted to accomplish. And I think it was very eye-opening to really think about what the goal of what we're trying to accomplish with ReaCH is. It really actually kind of helped me really see, like, okay, now I kind of see, the light at the end of time, like, here's what we want to try to get to. And I can kind of see that a lot more now. Like, what's a realistic path to get there, to teach our SMEs how to engage these audiences. So it was very helpful. I thought it was extremely enlightening. And I think it'll be really even more helpful to see what happens with our test pilot meeting here in Arizona, which I think I'm going to try to be at now to kind of help support that. I think I'm going to try to be there. I don't know. What else do you want to hear? Just my, what else? Other thoughts?
If you want to, sure. Don't need to go too long. I will say though, Kenda's, I think it was in our focus group at the end, she said, these will be really good, and the scientists are really going to want to do this, but you got to take away these. And it's like, had her phone.
That was a big self-revelation that I was like, we're going to have to deal with this with all scientists, because I caught myself looking at my iPhone, pulling out my phone and like keeping it on the desk and then still checking it, and when I got an email from somebody about a project or something, like, oh, wow, I've been wanting to hear about. And I caught myself and was like, why am I doing this? This is really important and interesting. And I kind of had to try to manage myself. So I gave that as a point of fact of let's help the scientists manage themselves, make them disconnect their iWatches from their iPhones, put their computers in the back of the room. You can check them on breaks, and you'll see everybody will run to the back room and check their phone and then go back. But I think that if we really set that bar so that they can really just focus and be in the room, it was something that I realized. I was just like, man, I'm being distracted by, my day job when I really need to be here. And so I had to kind of push myself to focus. And so I think if we kind of set that expectation up front, that'll be helpful. Especially if we're going to be at ASU where the scientists are probably going to be getting texts from their grad students and, and emails like, hey, why aren't you in this meeting? Aren't you on campus today? And I think it would just be great to kind of put them in a deprivation tank of data so they can focus on the workshop. But yeah, I know, I agree, Ed, emergency calls, and you should set your phone to go off or, do emergency calls. But it was very distracting because my watch was always popping off just my emails, and I caught myself checking it, you can do things like you can do a favorites or a call through no matter what list or things like that for like your daycare center or your kids or your spouse or whatever's going on. But I think for, if you have like an emergent, like EH&S at your university, if something blows up in your lab, yes, you should be able to have that set on ringing through. But I think it would be really good to have people really try to disconnect from their device while they're in the workshop. And we have regular enough breaks that people can go check their stuff. And again, you can set your phone to ring through if it's important. So if your phone rings, it must be important, right? So I just think it would be good to kind of have that expectation up front, to just kind of have them present, like your students will be okay for 3 hours. Your lab will be okay for 3 hours. The committees will be okay for 3 hours. Just kind of try to focus being here. And that was just a self-learning that I had for myself, that my science life would be okay for 3 hours. I needed to be here.
And some kind of message like that we include in emails to participants right before they come, and even coming verbally from a scientist at the very beginning of the workshop, I think would be incredibly good.
Yeah, and I think it was just a self-realization that I'm easily distracted by my, because I love my job, so I'm easily distracted by my work email, and and other meetings like ag meetings or other meetings where you don't need to be actively listening, fine. This is a meeting where I think active listening is important, so we need to make sure that they manage that habit, because it's a bad habit for this kind of meeting.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, thank you, Kenda.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have any questions whether you were there or not last week. Okay, very good. So we will take our lessons learned from last week, incorporate that into what we're doing in the future. And at some point, as I mentioned, we'll want to try to get the whole ReaCH team together, and we'll do a similar repeat, something similar, what we did last week with everybody else. Okay. Another next thing I wanted to just bring up is on March 15th, ReaCH will be doing we're going to collaborate with the Scope group with the SciAct out of ASU, and we're going to do a virtual. It's almost kind of like a virtual ReaCH workshop in a way. It'll be us and Scope, and then about 5 or 6 other SciAct teams that are interested in working with planetary scientists are going to be part of this 90-minute event. And at some point, we will break up those 6 teams into their own breakout room, and then scientists can choose which breakout room they want to go to. And in that breakout room with that team, they will learn about an activity that they can do in a public engagement setting. And then we're still getting the exact details and agenda worked out, but then the idea is either in their own individual breakout rooms or coming back as a whole group, or both, having a discussion about DEIA principles and how that activity is guided by that, or how the presenter presented it in a way that's DEIA friendly. So that'll be on March 15th from 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon. That's a Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 Central. So if you're interested in joining us for that, let me know. If you just want to be an observer or you want to participate, let me know. I was thinking there was one more thing, and of course I didn't bother to write it down. So, oh well, that's all right. We do have speaking of LPSC, there is a special session on IDEA and planetary science, and we have an oral presentation. That's cool. I'll be there in the Woodlands. I'll present it. So there's going to be, I think, 4 or 5 presentations, at least. I think they're doing 4 presentations, and they'll have like a panel discussion with those previous 4, and they repeat that a few times each session. So there'll be 4 presentations in my little segment, and then we'll have some kind of panel discussion after that with the audience. So that's cool. Getting it out there, getting the word out. Selena, you and Margaret were able to join us. Thanks for coming in. It's okay. I saw your email, and that's fine, of course. We started off, of course, congratulating Margaret and the rest of the Space Grant crew on the announcement of that presidential award. So congrats.
Thank you.
And we've got time if you want to give a speech, practice a speech.
I have no speech, but you want to turn the video on? I have to open. Oh, that's all right. The award presentation for mentors is tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and it'll be live streamed on YouTube if anybody wants to watch. But I was #1 shocked to be nominated, and #2 surprised to receive the award. But I do receive an invitation to the White House later, and also $10,000. So it's pretty cool.
Now, is that like tax-free?
Yeah, I wish. Comes from the government, they're going to take some back.
Well, congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, does anybody else have anything they want to bring up? I know I was going to mention this coming Monday, the 14th, we're going to have a debrief. So, and it's a little late, but we're going to have a debrief from our review last week on Monday. So if anybody would like to join that, let me know. I can add you to the email list. Okay. Anybody else? Anything else anybody would like to bring up or ask about?
I can quickly share one thing that came up with the SIAC evaluators meeting that might be of interest, which is there's some discussion about a regular question to the different teams about how you've worked with or learned from other teams, like a monthly data collection on that. So I wanted to give you the heads up. I know Joelle has crappy internet, but she was talking about how even when we were talking about the workshop right before we did the working session, how they had learned from participating in one with a different group the week before. So you might want to start capturing those kinds of collaborations, because it looks like there may be an ask to provide those coming down the road.
All right, thanks, Jeanette. Yeah, there's a PI meeting in an hour, so I imagine they'll probably say something there. Give us more stuff.
Another thing that came up when I was meeting with the scope team a few days ago was making sure that we collaborate on the evaluation of the March 15th workshop. And I said, I know those wonderful people, I will be happy to do that. But they were already like, well, what should we do for evaluation? I'm like, well, it's a ReaCH project. So I'm planning on being there, Andy. So like, or Jeanette and Susan, I'll be there so I can help collect whatever very briefness we want to collect. And
all right, thanks, Ellen. Yeah, it's started off as more of a scope kind of like event, as a way to try to get planetary scientists, to help them introduce a scope and work with them. And then the next thing I know, it kind of morphed more into a ReaCH type of thing, but that's okay.
I think it'll be good. I mean, honestly, like they had a pretty decent event at AGU, and just, they have this RFP out for the grants. And so they're working on that. So, I mean, they're really moving forward on trying to get people engaged in some outreach with SIAC teams. And so I think we can leverage that. And
yeah, it'll be good.
And maybe we can correspond via email, Andy, Sandlin, Jeanette, and I, about what that evaluation would look like. I think this is not been solidly on my radar. And so having it on there and just thinking about more clearly, like if there's Andy, is there an agenda for the day?
Working on one.
Okay. As soon as we have that, we should be able to create something really quickly.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, and that reminds me. Go ahead, Celia.
No, this is a non sequitur. So
I was gonna say, last Friday, Susan and I met. We had an initial discussion on what our product or products will be at the end of the 5 years of ReaCH. This idea of having this model for these workshops. So we started that discussion. We started. So we just don't have too much to work with right now anyway to kind of see what this could ultimately look like, but we're thinking. Susan?
We are thinking. Well, I'm also, I was hungry and I'm in meetings from 7 to 4 today, so I'm actually standing here late for my lunch meeting. What we're thinking is that rather than wait until kind of the 5-year period is finished to kind of create something, trying to have something by the end of year 2, that would be almost like our working model, and then adjusting and providing further detail and examples over time as the work progresses. So I think what we have right now are outlines of ideas, and we'll work to bring more definition to those and share with you all for feedback and guidance over time. We also started talking about like what a post-workshop feedback would look like, and the right information to share to make that quick to produce and useful to you all. And so that's something that Jeanette and I are working on and should have a draft ready in advance of the Phoenix workshop.
Okay.
Was there anything else, Andy, that we talked about?
Oh, we talked a little bit about like I think when we do our team version of last week. Yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to give it up. We'll just have to wait till we do it. A little bit of a different approach.
Yes.
Okay.
I had a question about the Arizona, our kickoff trial meeting or whatever you call it, workshop. So have people been invited to sign up for that yet, or how is that information going to be disseminated? Or
it will be, and we will. I think they're still trying to get the agenda finalized. They got like room space. I think they pretty much got that finalized yesterday, and then just getting that agenda finalized. I don't know the timeline right now for getting one out, but I imagine it'll be relatively soon.
and remind me, I know there was a lot of discussion about it early on, but I didn't know where we landed on who the if we were targeting local scientists for this first one. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh sure. Yeah, and there'll be plenty. And but I mean, anybody can come. We'll have stipends available. So if people from outside of Phoenix or Arizona want to come, we'll have stipends to help offset travel costs and stuff. But
and then we were capping it too, right?
Right. So each workshop, our ideas will cap it at 30. It's 15 scientists, 15 educators.
Thanks for that.
Sure. Hey, anybody else?
The last thing I was going to say is I'll be closing the informal educator survey at the end of the week, which was we're getting some little trickles in. And so that's to get the last group in, and then we'll do the final wrap up and kind of report on that. So I just wanted to let you know.
Great. Yes, and I get to put together 94 packets and stuff to send to people. It's going to be so awesome. Yes, and Ed, yes. Actually, Ed, why don't you say that? Bring that up.
Making me a mute.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed, just a minute. I'll say, Ed, apparently I've had a major influence on Ed because he's trying to look like me, but he's not going to show you. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Ed.
That's because I shaved off my hair. Doesn't mean anything. Anyways, so in the chat, I put the link to IDEACon. It's a conference that Kenda and I are convening on behalf of the LPI. It's going to be held from April 25th through the 29th. The official title is Advancing IDEA in Planetary Science. And the point of the conference really is to bring together all of the different initiatives that are occurring in the field so we can all learn from each other and implement those practices that we see are working for some organizations, and they could work for ours. We're also inviting social scientists to join us at the conference so that there is that feedback. So if somebody's suggesting a certain initiative, but the social scientist knows if you just change the approach a little, it'll work better, then we'll be able to get that feedback as well. The abstracts for the conference are due February 23rd. And Kenda and I are encouraging everybody to submit. And if you can't submit an abstract, the registration for the conference is $0.00, completely and utterly free. You have to register so you can get the link, but it's completely and utterly free. And Andy promised to do a ReaCH workshop at the conference. You did. I have you on recording and you signed it with blood, so it's fine.
Oh, that's right. That's why my finger hurts. Yeah. Okay.
And
And I'm
can I
gonna
just
be
ask, I'm looking at the
submitting-
website right now. If we have other projects that would like, I just want to make sure I understand what you would be looking for in an abstract. Is it to kind of describe initiatives being done in other projects, questions? I just want to make sure it's the right thing.
Yep, yeah, we'll be sending out an email soon to provide a little bit more details into the specific types of abstracts, but an abstract going over, this is the initiative we put together, this is the motivation, this is the population that we're going to be serving by this. If you have data on its efficacy, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. So that's an example of an abstract. If there are demographic surveys, climate surveys of a community, things of that nature, those are abstracts are also encouraged.
And I'm going to be submitting an abstract for ReaCH, right? Yeah, yes, okay. And the last presentation that I gave at LSSW, I feel like there's been more lessons learned and more data that we've collected since then, just based on even what I was hearing today. So if I could get some information to update those slides, that would be great. I don't know, Andy, if you want to help me with that, or who
Yes.
wants, I don't know. Okay, someone help me with that. So I actually haven't put together like a list of co-authors yet or anything like that. So I'll probably just include all of you. And yeah, if anybody has any information that I can update those slides with, then I won't feel like I'm giving the same presentation for the third time.
And
I gave it at AGU too. So.
And this is for IDEA Con?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And
So
I thought you had me as doing the ReaCH abstract in that. Yeah.
So Christine and Ed asked me to submit an abstract for ReaCH. Right. And what I'm saying is the presentation that I've used it the last couple of times. I feel like I could update it.
No, I understand. Yes. No, I'll have an updated one for LPSC, certainly.
Oh, awesome. Then yeah, maybe so this conference is in the end of sorry. No, the abstracts are due at the end of February. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. The abstracts are due at the end of February. So I think I could get the abstract, I could update that myself, but the slides, I would probably want some new content for the slides. So whatever you're working on for LPSC, I could borrow that.
So I was going to plan on including some of the evaluation data from the SME survey and from the informal ed survey. In fact, there's one particular table that we actually used last week in the meeting that I want to use. And I want to get the evaluation from Jeanette and Susan, roll up some of that stuff in there too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so just so I'm straight, for IDEA Con, I promised to do a workshop, and Alexandra is gonna do a ReaCH abstract, correct?
So just to clarify though, the ask that Christine did for you, Alex, was the workshops we give at SACNAS. The intern application stuff at SACNAS.
You're right. So it was specific, it was our work, but specific to what we did at SACNAS.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Okay, so I need like a whole nother presentation for that then. Okay, thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
No problem.
Geez, that means I'm doing a ReaCH abstract.
You're still doing ReaCH. Other people here should do ReaCH. You should just keep reaching. The more ReaCH.
Yes.
Better.
Okay, there could be more than one. Mine is specific to one thing that we did. Okay, got it.
All righty, fantastic. Okay, well, before I get told to do something else, is there anything, any last minute things, any go backs? Okay, well, thank you all very much for joining us today, and we're looking forward to seeing Jeanette and Susan's report from last week. All right, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.